Dang, this is really about to happen.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay.
We busy, 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 we busy. That bitch so pretty, got a mean girl just like Lindsay. Said she fucking with me, making drives across the city. Swear this shit can get too litty. Pushing be like Diddy, you ain't B-boy, who you kidding? At the top, I see you there. In LA, I see you there. At the space, I see you there. Texas State, I see you there. I know y'all go crazy, y'all be turning up in the square. Take another pill and we can turn up just by anywhere. Hit you in and say yeah, just to see if there's a feelings there.
Welcome back, PCT family, to another beautiful episode today. Today on my left, I have a special guest as well. Our boy Carlos from OP. I wanted to bring him in because I wanted his, love for the sport today.
Thank you for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. At the end of the couch over there, I have our host with the most, CJ, the DJ.
First time on the roadcaster, so I'm kind of excited.
No, we can still hear it.
Yeah, we can still hear it. And as our special guest today, I have Coach Betsabe, if I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Betsabe Esparza. I'm the owner and head coach of Black Widow MMA.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
for coming
Zay
on.
here as well. But yeah, I guess if you haven't already, check out last week's episode. It's a recap, correct?
November recap.
Yeah, our November recap. We chopped it up with the boys and, caught up. It's been a while since we've done a recap. But remember, always leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And I guess let's get it popping.
Let's get it.
So, let's all get comfy. All of that. Coach Betsabe, tell us about your little upbringing.
My upbringing. Let's see. So I moved to Austin, I would say about 13 years ago. Prior to that, I lived in Laredo for a few years, went to school over there, and before that, I grew up on the border in Eagle Pass. So getting into all this was quite a journey because it was never what I planned. Growing up, I was just kind of a nerd, honestly. Just focused on school, made all the right choices, did everything I was supposed to. So my upbringing was great. And it's not like I grew up fighting or anything. Maybe with my cousins, we had our own little fight club for a while, but that was about it. So yeah, I kind of had a very normal life up until, I'd say like 10 years ago when I started doing all of this. And then, life has been pretty crazy since, but in a good way. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Did you do any sports while you were growing up, or is just...
No, oddly enough, no. My dad was always too scared of me doing sports because I was always like under 100 pounds. I was really small. I was like 5'6" already at that time, but really, really thin. So my dad didn't want me to do sports. I did music for a good while because he's just like, I feel like you're going to break out there. And so never really did too much. So yeah.
What instrument did you play?
I played quite a few. I was in like what I call geek band, I was, I played flute. And then I also played guitar. I was in a punk band and then played bass for a while. And then I studied music for about a year or two before I switched to social work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you didn't play any sports and fighting wasn't even in the vision at all, how did that even come about?
Yeah, so I did social work, like I said, and I needed a way to de-stress. I actually worked really severe sexual abuse cases for Child Protective Services. So dealing with that, I can cuss, right?
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
So dealing with that shit and like some of the horrible people you see out there, like you want to, but you can't do anything about it. I'm just like, stop abusing children, and they don't fucking listen. So I took up cardio boxing for a while. So started there. I went to like title boxing just to be able to hit something. And I guess I got pretty good pretty fast because some of the instructors there started taking an interest. And they're like, hey, you should look into training. You should join an MMA gym or do some boxing. So I started doing private lessons with one of my coaches, and we were doing boxing at the time. So after that, he just mentioned the word Muay Thai to me, or the words, and I was like, what's that? I didn't even know what Muay Thai was. And he's like, think of it like kickboxing, but there's elbows and there's knees, and he just kicked the shit out of the bag, and I was like, I want to do that. Like, I was like,
Hell
whatever
yeah.
that just was, I want to do that.
Teach me.
Yeah. So I went home and, like I said, I'm a big nerd. So immediately started researching Muay Thai, start watching old fights. And the first documentary I saw was Buffalo Girls, which it was on Netflix at the time. It's about two girls, I think 7 and 8, and they're fighting in Thailand. And so you're like, okay, well, they're super young, but they're fighting to like make sure that their family has money, you know, to be able to, one of them is trying to get their house built, and they're just kind of like, hey, you have to do well in this fight, because if you don't, we don't get a house, you know? And so it's not like, you know, it's just,
later.
yeah, it's not like it was for fun. It was, you know, to make sure that their families could survive. And so I watched it and I was just like, holy shit, like these little girls are going at it. And so that really moved me. And I was like, man, I want to learn this. So started taking Muay Thai lessons with that instructor, eventually jumped into an MMA gym, and yeah, just kind of continued since. That was 10 years coming up soon.
It's
Yeah.
crazy that you mentioned that, because I was watching, I don't remember who the interview was with, but it was a UFC fighter, and he said the reason like a lot of like you don't have Thailand people in UFC is because like Muay Thai is like all they do from growing up, and that's like all they know.
Yeah.
And like it's stuff, but it's stuff like that. It's like you have to provide for your family. That's how they provide for the family. But they start them like at 5, 6 years old fighting, and they
Yeah.
just go to events after event after event after event, and they just kind of stay there. That's why like they don't go to the UFC.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about UFC fighters in the, you know, if they've got a big record, they've got like 30 fights, 40 fights. In Thailand, it's like 300, 400.
Yeah.
They fight every week.
Every
they fight
weekend.
consistently, like all the time. And like you said, since 5 years old. So they've got years and years of experience. And I will say I'm pretty guilty too, because even though I've been doing this for 10 years, I started jiu-jitsu at the same time too. Still a white belt in jiu-jitsu, because I definitely stuck with Muay Thai way, way more. That's definitely what I'm the most passionate about. Still do jiu-jitsu when I can, especially now with our new coach. He's excellent. So been trying to do more of that, and definitely help the guys obviously with MMA and everything. But Muay Thai, I would say, is my number one passion for sure.
Did you just choose jiu-jitsu, or did you even like consider Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I started, you know, traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the gi and everything. I prefer no gi, which is what I do now. I can't remember the last time I put on a gi. But yeah, I was still, you know, same principles, but it is pretty cool to have like the modern part of it. Because for me, I love leg locks, so definitely more no gi. And it's more relevant to what I teach with MMA. So I definitely, you know, have not done the traditional like in the gi stuff in a long time.
So
What is in the
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm looking at him.
We're both kind of new to this
So
whole
I wanted
MMA.
him on today because he loves
Yeah.
UFC, that type
Very
of
cool.
fighting style, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Just sport.
UFC is
UFC is a sport. UFC is a sport. Okay.
Well, UFC is the
UFC
brand.
brand, and then
Okay.
MMA
MMA
is the sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
We're both kind of
And
new
even
to this.
MMA,
whole-
like
yeah.
it's like, you know, mixed
There's-
martial arts.
yeah.
There's everything that
There-
comprises all of
so
that
that's
as
why
well.
they call it MMA, because it's mixed martial arts. But there's Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there's jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, judo. I mean, there's kickboxing, like there's just so much different stuff. So
Exactly.
It's called MMA.
we're novice in the
Oh, no,
terminology.
don't worry.
Yeah.
I will help educate you.
Of course.
So yeah, gi would be where you see them in the traditional like uniform. It's like pants and a kimono top with the belt, that whole thing.
okay.
No gi, like I could essentially do it in this. So it's not, there's no uniform, so less grips. Translates a little bit better to like street, you know, self-defense, I would say too. And like I said, it's more of what you see in MMA, because of course they're not wearing much. There's just the shorts that they're wearing typically. So that's the main difference.
Gotcha.
Do you have top 5 MMA fighters that you
Oof.
that like helped you like I guess inspire to get to this?
MMA, I would say some, but mostly for me, again, it's Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
My absolute favorite MMA fighter has to be Christine Cyborg. Chris Cyborg was one of my favorites. I got to train with her multiple times.
You trained with her?
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, intense. She is. I remember the first time I saw her walk into the gym that I was at, and it was just, she says she's the same height as me. She says she's 5'6". She looked like just this Amazon goddess walking in, just huge powerhouse. And yeah. And then at the time, she was with her husband, Evangelista Cyborg, and they're both, you know, teaching the seminar, and she's just picking him up and ragdolling him like it's nothing. And I was like, that's who I want to be. Like, I was just so into that. And then I would say the Shevchenko sisters also, I've got to train with them a couple times. Probably the most. I think out of everybody, I got to train with them the most. This was back when before they even got onto UFC and everything. So They were also really great. I could see that right off the bat. I was like, those girls are going to they have it, you know? And so she's gone on to become a champion in the UFC. So them, I'm trying to think
You
of
can
what.
name some Muay Thai fighters.
Yeah.
As well,
The other UFC fighter I really like is Brandon Moreno. He's really dope. I actually got to train last year at Entrim. I'm going again this year to go and train there again. It's a really cool gym up in Tijuana, so I'm going to head over there, get some training during my vacation. And then Muay Thai fighters, Yodson Klai is one of my favorites. I just loved his power. Let me see who else. Stamp Fairtex is another one that I follow quite a bit. She's really great. Yeah, there's so many. I just, I love the sport and the art. I could, and then you put me on the spot, and I'm like, what are their names? But yeah, I would say those are some of my favorites for sure.
Okay.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So do y'all just mainly train Muay Thai at your gym?
I would say that's the most popular, but we have a full MMA program. So we've got boxing, which Jaime, who's one of our MMA fighters, he teaches, and so does another one of our fighters, Victor. We have actual MMA classes, and that's taught by Johnny, another one of our fighters. I teach the Muay Thai program, and then Oliver Taza is our coach for Jiu-Jitsu. Who, congratulations to him. He was actually just named one of the top 10 no-gi jiu-jitsu athletes by IBJJF just this week.
That's
so,
dope.
Yeah, like top 10 in the world. Like,
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
yeah, it was really dope to see.
When we're doing the grappling like competitions, like those are big honors.
Exactly, yeah.
huge
So it's really,
honors.
it's an honor to have him at the gym. He's really cool. Really chill, down to earth individual, but a killer on the mats. So yeah, so we've got everything at our gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us how Black Widow became Black Widow. How it was
Yeah.
created.
Yeah, definitely. It's quite a dramatic story, which is what makes it kind of cool. But I had no intent of ever opening a gym. I did not think I was at that level at all. So like I said, I was a couple years into training. I would say about like 5 or 6. I was actually supposed to fight in Thailand, and it fell apart 3 times. One was supposed to be a reality show, and then they decided they could not let women on because they were going to split to different camps. So one camp would go to the north, another one over down to like Phuket, and some of the camps said, we will not train women. So it's still like pretty taboo to a degree. It's getting better now. But when I first started, some women couldn't fight at certain stadiums. They couldn't train at certain camps. When people go in for to the ring to fight, they're supposed to go over the top rope. Women have to go under the bottom rope, which I was like, that's fucking bullshit. So when Miriam Nakamoto went down there, she actually went over the top rope, and I was like, that's dope. So I got to train with her because I was like, respect, like that's cool. She's taking that step for us. So that fell apart. So at the time, I was an assistant instructor at another school. So we were co-sharing a space, and it used to be called Guerrilla Muay Thai. So I was the assistant instructor there. And I was in a relationship with the coach that was the head coach there, so the both of us kind of ran the program. That ended really badly, and I always equated to like, in the cartoons when someone's getting dumped off and they like throw their luggage and then they throw them. That's essentially how my relationship ended. So I was like, cool. So I was like, man, that sucks, but whatever. It's long overdue. I'm glad that relationship ended, but I was like, what's going to happen to the gym, So I asked him, I was like, hey, and he's like, no, fuck the gym, I'm gonna shut it down. So I was like, dude, you can't do that. And at the time, we only had like 14 students, I wanna say, 12 or 14. And I was like, we built this gym, I want them to have a place to train, and he's like, well, then you take over. And I was like, nah, I'm not good enough. I'm not there, I'm not that good of an instructor. And he's like, it's either that or I'm gonna shut it down. So I was like, fuck it, I'll take it. So literally,
took the challenge.
Yeah, we broke up on Saturday. I probably cried all day Sunday, which was Father's Day. I was there at my parents' house, and I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, well, I just got to do it. Monday, I was teaching already. So, yeah. Wow. So it went like that, and from there on, just kept teaching. We went from 14 students to like 50, and then 60, and then it didn't go well with the person we were sharing the space with. I feel like his program wasn't really growing, and it was not the best space. It was pretty crusty. So I was like, all right, we got to move out of here. So that's when we found the location that we're at right now. And yeah, we moved in 2019, and we've grown exponentially. We were right before COVID, I think like 200 students. It's dropped down a little, with the ups and downs of COVID and all of that. But we got, pretty high amount of students, which is great. We went, and one of the things I remember my ex telling me once I took over, he was being just real shitty about it. And he's just like, "You're never going to have any legit fighters. You know, you're selling them snake oil. You're full of shit. You're not good enough." And I was like, all right. So, but, you know,
Now look at you.
yeah, I was like,
look at you now.
Look at you now.
I know. I was like, I guess he was wrong. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we've got quite a few fighters. We've gotten championships. We've gone, you know, we've gotten professionals. We've gotten amateurs. And just watching the guys get good and stick with it and, you know, believe in what Black Widow's doing, it's so motivating. You know, I 100%, like I said, did not think I was going to do this, but it's good. It makes me work harder. Because I'm not ever sitting there thinking like, oh, well, I'm the shit. I'm the best. Like, you guys should be honored to train with me. It makes me work 10 times harder because I watch them too, and they're just getting better and better. And I'm like, cool, I got to keep up. Got to keep working. Got to give them everything that I can that I didn't have, you know, to make sure they have those opportunities. So, yeah.
Yeah, when I visited, that was the first thing I noticed when I walked in was as soon as you walk in to the left, there's that table, and it has all those belts and y'all's, like, trophies and your accolades and all that. So,
Accolades?
Right? I use the right terminology, right?
I actually have a question for you.
Accolades.
So, like, what is your favorite part about being a coach?
Oof. All of it, man, honestly. I think a lot of times people look at what I do and they're like, man, that's so cool. That's so badass. And it's like, they forget, I'm like 90% a janitor there. You know, that's primarily what I do.
Really?
Cleaning up sweat, cleaning up, all kinds. So I always make that joke. It may seem really cool, but a lot of it is just a lot of physical work, which is great. But that's the part that I love, making sure that the gym always looks great, making sure that everybody has what they need. You know, being able to pad hold for all of my guys and, you know, watching them get better. I don't know what the best part would be. I mean, I love going to coach them at the fights because I think that right when they walk out, it's like my job kind of goes on hold for a second, you know, because at that point, and it's happened before, you know, I'm in the ring and I'm telling them, I'm like, hey, you know, and first round is over and I'm like talking and I can see that they're just like, you know, they're in the middle of a fight. So it's like, I also know that I don't have to say anything. I've trained them well enough. They know what they're doing. It's going to click. They may hear a word or two of what I say. I always work on refocusing and getting them back, right? But then I watch them go in and they just kill it in the next round. And then one after that, and they get that, you know, that hand raised. And I'm just sitting there. I said, that's the easiest part of my job because I know I did everything going up to it that we could have. And that's, I think, one of the most rewarding parts of it. But even still, not just the fighter aspect, training the everyday person is really great too. You know, I've watched a lot of girls. We've got a lot of women in our program, which is great because when I came up, anytime a girl would jump into the gym, I'm like, yes, I have a training partner. And they wouldn't stick with it. I'd be like, fuck, you know, there goes that.
Yeah.
So now I've got girls that have been doing it for a while. They're getting better and better. And so watching them who would have maybe not had the confidence or even the ability to jump into a gym like that, watching them get good and not just working in the women's classes, but jumping into co-ed is really rewarding as well, you know? So I love that part of it too.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna bring up. You had posted on Instagram. Actually, you're like, you can tell when you're at a good MMA gym from the amount of women that are in there.
Yeah.
Can you like talk about that more? Like, what do you
for
mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, you know, there was many gyms that I went to in the past, because one of the things I like to do when I was training was I would go and travel to seminars, drop in at different places to train and stuff. And some experiences were really good and some were not, you know, because obviously there's still differences. At the time I was fairly new, a little bit smaller than some of the guys that train. And, you know, there's many times I got rocked, got kicked too hard, got, you know, thrown around, all of that. And that sucked. It's discouraging, you know. I loved it. I knew I wasn't going to give up. But I was like, man, I can see where, like, this is why people don't stick with it, you know? And so there's so few women. You're already put in a position where it's like, all right, you're outnumbered. You know, there's like 40 guys and like 2 girls. So seeing more and more women, like knowing that the team, the guys are not, you know, being gross or mean or rude or, you know, another thing, too, that you see a lot in gyms is that they look at a girl and they're like, oh, fresh meat. Fuck that shit. Yeah. That is one thing I cannot stand. So, you know, girls do not feel comfortable because you're going in there wanting to learn a sport, wanting to, you know, learn to defend yourself or even just get a workout, whatever it might be. You're not in there to be objectified. Yeah. So to know that the, you know, women feel comfortable enough to be in there and training there or any gym, that's a good sign because again, they're not being objectified. They're not being treated poorly. So that's, you know, if they can do that for them, that shows you that across the board, it's probably a good team of people that care about each other.
Yeah.
So. That's what I like about that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Question for you. So you earlier brought up like the championships and whatnot. How do you go about like getting your fighters, I guess, to the next? Because you have like UFC obviously is like the ultimate one, and like you have your Bellator, Strikeforce, Cage Warrior, stuff like that. So like, do you just have to win, and then those companies just start to notice you, or is it like there's like paths you have to take to like get to that and then just keep going up?
Well, one of the things I took a seminar not that long ago, like a business summit for Muay Thai, and got to meet with Matt Lucas, who's a big figure in Muay Thai in Thailand. He's one that helps transition a lot of fighters from over there to the U.S. and fighters from the U.S. to Thailand, right? There's always the language barrier and all of that. And we were talking about what it takes to be able to make it in whatever it might be in fights like, MMAX Muay Thai or in Thailand or Bellator, one championship, all of that. Marketing is a big, big part of it as well. So even though we want to believe that it's all about just, how good you are, if you're not marketing yourself, it's harder, especially now with social media, that's a big part of it as well. So being able to market yourself works in your favor. That gets you noticed more often. And of course, being able to win. You're not going to go in there and make it to the UFC. You've lost, 30 fights. You have to have that ability as well. So, and a lot of it is just connection, who you know and how you can get people on shows. But for our fighters, definitely, they're making a name for themselves. So it's kind of cool to see. Yeah.
I have one more question before we cut the first cut. How does it feel to be a woman in a male-dominated sport?
It's cool. I don't know a lot of, female head coaches for whatever sport it might be, either MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, much less owners. They're usually co-owners, assistant coaches, all of that. So to be on the forefront, sorry, I'm getting like really congested. So to be on the forefront of that is really cool. I want to see more people doing that. I made a comment the other day. I was like, one thing I don't like is that when I go to fights, the only people that step into the cage, female-wise, are the ring girls and me. I was like, that's, Yeah. So I was like, I would love to see more women, and I definitely want to give them all the opportunities to be able to do that. But it is a really cool thing because even though, and I make that joke too as far as height goes, we have a lot of guys in our team that are over 6 feet. We call them Team Long Boy. And I forget how short I am compared to them. And so I feel like I have this image of myself, I'm like, all right, I'm about their height. We're here, no big deal. And then I saw a picture and it's like all of them and then me. I'm like way down here. But again, because I don't see myself from the outside in, so I forget sometimes. I'm out at like different things and I forget that I'm like a female coach. Then sometimes people will remind me or girls will come up to me and I'm just like, oh yeah, like that's true. Yeah. And it's just because you forget. Like for me, I'm a coach. Yeah.
Breaking barriers.
But it is cool to see that afterwards because I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah. I forget that's my role, Yeah. But I definitely have hope that I see more female fighters, more female coaches, female seconds, cornermen, whatever it might be, I would love to see more females doing this for sure. But it is cool to have our part and coexist too. So don't want to separate it too much. I want a good co-ed sport at all times. So
I think you will start seeing more female fighters. Yeah. I mean, look at all the past. Some of the female fights are the best fights on the card because it's like. I mean, that's the thing. Is like we've all been like I've watched UFC my whole life, and guys just talk shit all the time. And then when it comes to cage time, it's like some of them like go after it, and then some of them just like stand there. But like girls, like they always go after it.
Yeah, because they got so much to prove. Like there's so few, and they're just like, I need to make a name for myself.
There's only like one girl fight that I've seen that they didn't go after it, and that was the Carla Esparza and Doug Rose when they fought for the title. That was like the only fight that they did not go after it.
I know. I actually got to meet Doug Rose a couple of weeks ago. Like a month ago. It was pretty dope.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
Any relations with Carla Esparza?
No, but everybody thinks there is. I mean, there may be some distant. I don't know. I mean, we could be, right? It could be primas for all I know. But it was kind of funny. Like my dad told me, he's like, man, all of my friends, whenever she's on the card, will hit me up. That's your daughter? And it's like, no, she's a college. Yeah. But yeah, and I mean, if I may, we've got some fights coming up that we're definitely super excited about, so did want to plug that real quick. So we've got the Black Widow Invitational, December 18th, so in a few weeks. We've got one of our guys so far confirmed. Yazin will be fighting, and then Coach Taza will actually be the headliner for that, and that's at Oscar Blues. So it'll be from 6 p.m. on. I think it's like 20 fights. Really good high-level jiu-jitsu grappling. So if you guys want to go to that, it's local. It's close by. I think tickets are only $35, and it comes with a free beer. So if y'all want to go to that,
He's like, I'm
Got me
there.
there. Yeah, you sold me right there. Yeah.
and that's with Enigma. So we've partnered with them to make this event happen again, and I'm really excited. So it'll be televised. It'll be broadcast, and then it'll, like I said, it's our killer lineup for that one. And then Jaime will be fighting next month.
He's
in
actually about to be
January.
on right now.
Yeah, so he's about to be on. One of my favorite fighters too. Jaime, he's one that I love it because there's different styles of fighters, and with Jaime is one that I don't have to tell him anything in between because I can just see him. He's just so ready to kill. Like afterwards is when I need to talk to him. Like, all right, Jaime, let's
hey.
fight's
Yeah,
over.
like, hey, like,
One, let's,
you won,
you
you're
know,
good, you're
like,
good.
Yeah.
Here's your beer. We always have our victory beer because he's just such a killer, and I love it. So he'll be fighting January 29th or 28th? 29th, yeah, here in Austin as well. So another one that we've had to travel all over. We've gone like Oklahoma, Arizona, South Texas, like all different places. So it's nice to be able to get some of these fights at home. So those will be some of our home ones coming up. So hopefully y'all can make it. Other people can make it. We'd love to have y'all.
Yeah, we would love to be there.
Yeah.
Welcome back from those commercials breaks. So before our break, you were talking about how Jaime right here, ladies and gentlemen, he just appeared out of nowhere. We found him.
Up the street real quick.
Yeah, just real quick. How he has a fight coming up in January 29th, correct?
Yes, sir. 29th.
Got it. Excited for it?
Dude, I'm hella stoked for it, especially because it's gonna be here in Austin, man. Like, I've always wanted like some of my people here in Austin to come out, you know, like come to the fights and stuff like that. So now that it's a little bit closer, we'll actually have a lot of people will be able to come out, get some tickets, you know, drink, watch us beat each other up in the cage real quick. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So I guess would you like to give a quick little upbringing on how you came into, how your life, I guess?
Oh, into like the fight life?
Yeah, and I guess your little upbringing, and then we can
okay.
talk about how you got into your fight
I mean,
life.
pretty simple, man. I was born in Plainview, Texas. You know, lived with my mom for a long time. I mean, moved around. Eventually settled down in Laredo, Texas. 956. What's up? You know what I'm saying?
Represent.
And just eventually settled down. She settled down with my stepdad in Laredo, Texas, and we pretty much that's where I was raised, man. So, kind of like getting into the fighting whole thing. I mean, it was just you know, you gotta learn how to protect yourself whenever you. I'm not the biggest dude around, man. So I get that.
No,
Right?
yeah,
So I
I
already
get it.
knew that like people were gonna like try to test me as soon as I got older. You know what I mean? So is one of those things is that you pretty much just I started in boxing. So like I came up in a striking background, obviously. So just learning boxing and learning how to defend myself and stuff like that is just I think it made me into like a better person. You know what I mean? But so yeah, then after that, I kind of got into like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My homeboy Mikey is actually gonna be he's gonna be competing on the card, right?
I think so. I don't know if he's on there yet, but I know they did
Okay.
want him on there. So
He's gonna be he wants to compete, or he's gonna be competing in the invitational that we got, and he actually got me into jiu-jitsu when we were in high school in the gi, and I don't mess with the gi, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of don't like the gi, bro. Like,
Yeah, I don't think I would if I was to. Yeah, I don't think I'd like to.
It's just
I just feel like it's like just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's uncomfortable and hot.
yeah.
That's the main thing, man. It gets hot, and I'm like, I spend all day outside anyways, so like I don't want to be in another hot environment.
Yeah, I took Taekwondo when I was younger, so I
Yeah,
had a
I
purple
got you.
belt. I had a purple belt. I don't know if that means anything. Lethal weapons around
There
here.
you
Clear
go,
the
bro.
table. Let's
Yeah.
test it.
Whoa. Hey, we've talked about we want to do a PCT little fight night. Some of us have a little beef between us.
Oh shit!
And,
Gloves
We
in
can
the
make that
car.
happen.
Yeah, we.
I know, right?
I got the gloves in the car right now.
But yeah, no, that's really good to hear. Any anymore? Or?
I mean, after that, pretty much just after high school, I went into the military. I was in the Marines for 4 years. I got to do my own little
A
thing in
veteran
there,
right
you
here
know
as
what I mean?
well. Honored.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a superhero or anything. I was, I'm there, bro. You know what I mean? I mean, to my son, hopefully. But yeah, I got to do my whole thing there. I got out of the military. Eventually went back to Laredo where I started kickboxing. Started doing like more Muay Thai, traditional stuff like that, you know. And then then I heard that the fight scene was better up here in Austin around 2018. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, I want to make this a career, you know what I mean? Like, I want to start getting the best training that I can. And things weren't going too good with the girl that I was with at that moment. So I was like, you know what? I'm out of here, bro.
There's a lot of heartbreak in this sport.
Yeah, oh, dude.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Trust me, man.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
What makes it so
Yeah.
violent.
Yeah, I
That's
can
what makes
see
us so strong, bro. When we're in there, that's all we're thinking about.
I get
just
it. I
kidding.
get it.
No, but yeah, pretty much moved up here to Austin and started training like MMA, Muay Thai. Started doing a little bit more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at times. But other than that, I was kind of like on the back burner of getting into like a good job, you know what I mean? And then try to use that to fund my fighting, and then found Black Widow with Bitsy. And ever since then, it's just been coming up, man, trying to get this started, you know what I mean?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
What's your record right now?
Right now I'm 1-2.
One
A
and two?
questionable 1-2.
Yeah,
Good question.
definitely.
Yeah, I was there for one of them,
Yeah,
and
that's
I was very questioning it as well.
That's the one. That's one.
Yeah.
You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
One of my favorite Dana White quotes is "Don't leave it up to the judges.
That's one thing we always say after.
Don't leave it up because
We're learning.
the scoring in MMA, in my opinion, just needs to change. It can't follow. It's not boxing, so it shouldn't follow like the boxing points.
Agreed.
Like there needs to be more 10-7s, like stuff like that, because there's people who they get their ass beat 10-9.
Yeah.
Dude, there's no way. I just whooped his ass. Why do you have 9 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to change the
We
points in
definitely had
boxing.
that with the last Muay Thai fight too. It went to decision, and yeah, we were like, what?
Yeah.
But you know,
That's why
Don't
like
let
when
it
you
to
were
judges.
interviewing me after my last fight, man, I was like, I can't let it go to the judges
Yeah,
anymore,
no.
man. I was a little bit more hyped up too. But,
Yeah.
I was like,
And the
nah, I
BCT
can't,
family
you know.
knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They've seen the
Oh,
video.
exactly. Yeah.
So
The only time, like, I guess I'm okay with it going to the judges if it's just an all-out war.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
hey, you
always
gave
fun.
it your all, he gave it his all. And, hey,
Yeah.
none of us could just put each other out. Other than that, it's like, sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's a really good fight, it's all right. But in my case, I don't want it to go to the judges no more. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things. It's just it just kind of comes with fighting, man. Like you gotta go in there and put yourself in there and fucking go all out.
Yeah, go to
sometimes.
war.
Yep, exactly.
What weight class were you?
I'm 135.
135.
Yeah, bantam.
So, question for both of y'all: cutting weight is a big thing. For what do you typically walk around at?
Right now, I mean, I wasn't always like this. Like I used to walk around a little bit heavier. Right now, I walk around like 149.
149. How's cutting weight for you? Is it hard?
It's easier now.
Yeah.
We've had a
You've had
couple
some rough
fights.
ones. Especially you. Yeah, you've had some rough ones.
Yeah, we've had a couple fights to where like I've like struggled with the weight cut, but now this last one, the weight came off really easy, man. Like I was ready. I felt as strong as I needed to be going into that fight, and I mean now hopefully we can keep it on the same path as like getting to 135 is gonna be easy now.
So, like, what do y'all give them advice or training on, like, how to eat and like maintain weight, or is it just something y'all kind of do on your own because you know you have to make weight?
Well, I mean, we're sponsored by Meal Pros. The gym is
Yeah.
sponsored by Meal Pros, so they provide us with meals. And when I'm on my weight cut, I usually eat those if I'm not in the gym, or if I cook at home, then I'm usually eating just like chicken and rice and stuff, like to make it a little bit easier, you know, to cut the day of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely say we're involved, but these guys are such professionals. Like, you know, I don't have to be on them about it, and I don't ever let them do drastic weight cuts because I've done my research on that too. And you know, those that
bad.
cut like 20 pounds like right before, you don't perform the same way. So you know, we had some in the past that did have some significant weight cuts, and I could see where their performance just wasn't where it needed to be. So we always have those discussions, but like I said, they're such professionals. I don't have to be on them about it, which is what's great. But yeah, Meal Pros has been definitely helpful too. So.
Yeah, like just try to have the calories and all that on there.
Yeah. And there's and not only that, like I've tried so many different meal prep services. It's the only one I actually legit enjoy. So the guys love it, and that's what helps us with that too.
Yeah,
Makes
there's
it easier.
there's a location next to my work. I see it down the road, and I used to follow the owner on
Nick.
Snapchat. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I used to follow him. I think I got a whole new one until it like lost all
Yeah.
the people. But yeah, no, I see him, and I've seen the work he's done, and yeah, he's really. I from some being like kind of his upgrowing, oops, his like growing up, and when I saw y'all's what poster was it? I think it was for the Kingsville one that I attended with y'all, or it was another one y'all did after that. I had seen his logo and I was like, hey, that's a small world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they've definitely been great.
yeah. So I have a question for both of y'all. Seeing y'all both do Black Widow, what are some of y'all's favorite, I guess, moments at Black Widow? Like its top 5 history moments, or one of those
Top
like
5.
yeah, one of those
When
like
we had like
yeah.
a really killer boxing and bruise, that was always fun.
Oh,
so we
yeah.
had a class and we're trying to figure out where to fit it on the schedule. So it's boxing and bruise. So we would have a boxing class. We would train for an hour and then we'd all hang out and just like have a beer and just like kick it on a Friday night. And all of us are such, we're just so involved in what we do. We're not big on like going out, clubs, all that kind of stuff. So it's cool to just sit with people that you can have a conversation about what you want to have a conversation about, fighting or, events that just happen, whatever it might be. And we'd all just sit there and kick it and have a beer, And again, Oscar Blues would give us free beer, which was awesome. So we'd sit there and sometimes it was just one beer, sometimes it was too many, right?
There was times where it was too many.
Yeah,
We got
for sure.
videos.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We've had nights where it's like a couple of us sleep on the mats, and then we had like a 10 a.m. morning. And we're like waking up. We're like, oh shit, we're still here.
Oh shit.
Not from excessive drink. We just you're tired too.
Yeah,
So it's
no.
just like a good
Mine
time.
was from excessive drinking.
But it was always fun. I would say that was a great time for sure. I don't know. What
I
other
don't know, we
ones?
have a lot of favorite moments, man. Like,
Name them all.
I mean, like in general, my favorite moments are like the sparring days, because those are like whenever
dude, for
you
sure.
like you can go in there and you're focused and stuff like that. And but afterwards, everybody's cool with each other. You know what I mean? This is like we come out. Yeah, exactly.
You have a
It's
favorite person to spar with?
favorite person was. I would say, well, actually, like, there's not a favorite either, man.
No,
like,
everyone always
I like
gives a-
going, like,
yeah.
Johnny Christian. There are a couple of the other fighters too. Like, they have really good hands, and I like to go with them with like movement and stuff. But there's also like dudes like Ant. He's like really big. I like to go with him. It's like because he's strong, man. And, you know, is so I just not really a favorite person, but more like how I'm feeling at that time, like a favorite person, I guess you could say. But I try to use it all.
Yeah.
You know, I try to get it in my work in wherever I can, because it's all gonna benefit me in the end. Like, you know, whether I work with like stronger people, you know, faster people, it's one of those things. It's like I'm gonna be able to learn that and how I performed in that situation and use it towards a fight. You know what I mean?
Quick shout out to Christian and Johnny.
Yeah.
Especially Christian. He is the one who kind of like brought us all together.
I know, right?
Yeah. I know him from high school. So
Oh, very
yeah,
cool.
seeing he was part of this, I was like, oh, I gotta help him out. So
Yeah.
that's all I
He
wanted.
actually should be fighting. We're waiting to see about an opponent, but he should be on the same card as Jaime, hopefully. So yeah, he'll be making his
Trying to
debut
get him
soon.
out there.
Yeah.
He's what weight class is he again?
He fights at 115. We may go up to 125, but we'll see because he's like right in between that. But yeah, it's hard to find 115ers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's strong at 125, man.
He is. He's really good. He's really
Yeah.
fast, you know,
Yeah.
but it's just like some people cut down. And that's, like, again, the cutting down. They'd be walking around 150, cutting down to 125. And I'm like, you know,
Dang.
so
It's unhealthy.
I want to make sure my guys have a leg up every time.
Unhealthy.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, another question for y'all from our audience that we have over there. What advice would you give to someone that's just getting into MMA?
One of the things that I would say would be, you know, do your research. With us, that's one of the things that's helped us is I always post a lot of social media content. So you'll see it. And I don't try to filter or edit where it makes it look, you know, a certain way. I don't just feature the fighters. I will usually go through and show everybody. So that way you can kind of get a feel for what the gym is like. Because if it's only showing you highlights where you don't see any social media content and you're going in and you know absolutely nothing about it, makes it kind of hard, you know. So I would say doing your research and making sure that it's a good gym. You know, if you want to go in to fight and you're hot-headed and that kind of thing. You're like, I just want to go in there and
Whoop
test
some
what
ass, yeah.
And so it's like, so stay away from Black Widow, because with us, like, we're more chill. We want people to build up skills and get better and all of that. And I think that's what makes us successful too, is that people can come in at all levels and they get something good out of it. Versus, they just wanted to come in and, it's like, did you see red, man? I'm ready to go. Like,
Yeah.
nah,
I had a bad day. Who's getting their ass whooped
yeah,
today?
and we've had a few like that, and I've had to. One time I kicked him out, and I was just like, "No, dude." And they're like, "Well, I'm gonna write a complaint," and this, and I was like, "Then do it, dude." I was like, "If you don't fit in, you don't fit in." Like, I don't ever. I'm not so determined to get all these memberships and that kind of stuff. That's not what it's about. If the vibe isn't right, I can see that, and I'm just like, "Hey, bye." So do your research to see what you want. If you want something that isn't going to be, like you said, going at 100% at all times, make sure that you're definitely asking questions and looking around. When you walk in, don't just talk to the gym owner, because they're going to sell you, this whole, we're the best, we're the greatest, this and that. Talk to, the average person, the one that's in there, the one that doesn't look like they know what they're doing. If they're having a good time and able to stick around with it, that's where you want to be, because again, that's the person that, they don't have everything working in their favor. Talk to the smaller guy, talk to whoever it might be. They'll give you a better idea of what the gym is really like and what the culture is like, versus talking to like the owners, the pro fighters, that kind of thing. So that's what I would say. And I mean, don't be afraid to do it. It seems really hard, but I promise you don't go in, for most gyms, and just spar right off the bat. With us, all of our classes are classes. So you're learning, building up skills. Sparring is on Thursdays. If you want to jump in or don't, that's up to the person. So I'd say give it a go, because you never know. You may be, super passionate about it. You may just end up having a lot of fun. You may be an ex-pro fighter, So always be willing to try. Be willing to suck too. A lot of people come in expecting to be good. You may not be. That's fine. You'll learn.
One question I want to ask you, because you brought up the scene all red. What for you? Because no matter what gym you go to, fighting outside the gym's like, you don't do it. So if you find out a fighter catches out fighting outside of the gym, what do you do?
I'll ask if they won first and foremost. No, I mean, we've been in situations for sure. Even when we go out after fights, there's always people that want to test it and stuff, and we've got really good control. Everybody's behaved. It's definitely gotten to the point sometimes where I'm just like, whoa, we gotta chill. Myself included. After one fight, remember, we had a few drinks, a girl shoved me, one of the waitresses, and I was just like,
oh yeah.
like,
You must not know who I am.
yeah, and I was just like, and Jaime was going, coach, no, sit down, you're fine. Like, don't hurt her, don't. And he's like, remember, she's here to, serve us drinks. We're good. You just chill, have a good time. We're here, So we check ourselves. I mean, it's definitely, there's people that test it, but at the end of the day, that's not what we're looking for. We don't go out looking for that. As you become a better martial artist, I think that's one of the key things, is to know when you use what you know and when you don't. You have that restraint, and plus, you may know how to fight, but it's Texas. Dude may have a gun, may have a knife, whatever. They may have 4 or 5 buddies behind them. It's never worth it. But yeah, so far I don't think we've ever had that happen. I think maybe just one time, and I remember I yelled at him in front at fight team practice in front of everyone. I was just like, "What are you doing?" It's like, what is the point? Like, why are you trying to go out and fight in the streets? Like, what are you going to gain out of that? There's no point, And definitely saw a turnaround with him, and it was great, because they took that advice and were just like, yeah, you're right. Shouldn't be fucking doing that. So, but yeah. What about you, Jaime? What do you see about that?
Which question?
You can start with the first one, and then we'll go to the
first
second
one.
Yeah.
As far as like going into giving someone advice that's going into MMA, just be ready for the hurt, man. That's it. It's one of those things. Is like, you're not gonna like it at first. You know what I mean? And nobody likes it, because they're getting fucking hurt. You're getting hurt.
You're probably getting your ass whooped.
Yeah, you're getting punched in the fucking face, right? So it's just one of those things. Is like, be ready for that mentally. And also, it's like, if you end up loving it, if you end up wanting to do it, stick with it, man. Because it's the losses. Like, I know I've had a couple losses. I've also had win too. I've also had some wins. I have a championship belt in Muay Thai, out of one of the competitions that we did. And it's just it's one of those things. It's like, just stick with it, no matter what you do. You know what I mean? Don't give up. And you're gonna progress as it goes. You know, you're not gonna always stay the same because you're constantly learning. So I guess one of the biggest things is just, I would say, be ready for the hurt. Stick with it, man. That's it.
And then the second question was.
Well, you don't have to answer that one. It was mainly for her since she's the head coach. But one other question I had for me: how do you go about, like, I guess if one of your fighters, scheduling wise, if one of your fighters does get knocked out or hurt, do you have like a suspension? Like UFC does a 6-month suspension where you can't fight if you do get knocked out, or is it just kind of
It's
on
on,
the fighter?
so the doctors will put that on there. So at the end of the fight, they'll walk out, doctors do a check, and they'll write on there what their recommendation is. So that's mainly it. But also, I mean, just on our own, we assess what we're going to do moving forward, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely a period of, where we change up our game plan, figure out what we're going to do, that kind of thing. So doctor recommendation first and foremost, and then from there we kind of go to see how we're going to fix it. But yeah, I'm never one of those coaches where I'm trying to just like, all right, well, too bad. I know that sucked, but we got another fight in like, a week. It's completely up to them when they want to fight, when they're ready, what we need to change in the game plan in order to be able to move forward. Because I'm thinking long term for them, We've had plenty of opportunities and a lot of different promoters that reach out. And if it's not the right fit for them, obviously I discuss it with them. And that's a choice that we both make. But they know that at the end of the day, they have to trust in what I say too, because a lot of times, especially coming off a loss, you're like, I want to get back in there and improve. It's like, all right, cool, but let's fix it. Let's patch up what we need to. Let's do what we need to do first. Then we'll look into fighting. So that's definitely, and there's moments where they're just like, no, but then they understand. And so we have that relationship where, they know that they can tell me what they need to and how they feel about it. And I too have to stick to what I believe in as a coach, because their safety, their career long-term is what I'm looking at and making sure that I can help it and not just put them in a bad spot, so.
How often, well, if I guess for both of you, how often do y'all try to fight in a year?
That would depend. I mean,
right now it's so like since we're still like amateurs, it's fight as often as you can. Not saying like take a fight like every week, right?
Yeah.
But it's maybe like every couple months, every few months. It's one of those things. It's like you want to get back in there as frequently and as often as you can, because, well, for me, like being a fighter, I know that I learn every time I'm in there. It's every time I get to go against somebody else or somebody new, it's one of those things. Is like, okay, I'm gonna gain some experience out of this. So it's just about getting there as repetitive. I would say no more than like 4 fights, unless you're like in the UFC or anything like that, trying to get paid real quick. But other than that, it's probably like 3 fights.
Yeah, 3-4 fights a year is typical. Unless you're our coach Taza, he fights like every other week. It feels
Oh
like.
yeah.
Dang.
But he's in a whole other level, Actually, he's got, just for the month of December, he's going to go right now to Worlds in California, and then he's going to be on the UFC Fight Pass Invitational next week, and then the week after that, he's doing the Black Widow Invitational. So for him, he's just constantly competing, and it's great. He's learned how to do that, but he's at the pro level. So it's really cool to see that, how all of us, like, nobody gets desperate. Everybody picks the best stuff. So for him too, he's picking what's best for him, and he's at that point in his career where he can take a whole bunch of fights because he's that good. He's top 10 in the world. And so the guys have a great role model to kind of see, and he advises them all the time, yes, do this, don't do that. So it's really cool to have that as a team where we can all kind of discuss that. Because before, some of the other teams that I train with, it was just the fighters finding their own fights and just going at it, and the coach would be like, cool, let me know how it goes. And I'm just like, what? So definitely learned a lot from the things that I saw out in the community and what I don't want to do, and some of the things we've learned along the way. So for sure, figuring out what works best for them, because at the end of the day, they still got jobs, they got families, they've got their own goals professionally, whatever it might be. So I can't just push things that are going to jeopardize all of that as well. So
How do you turn professional?
Huh?
How do you turn professional?
It just depends on the number of fights that you've had, offers for it. Some people jump up a little bit faster than others, but you want to make sure, because once you go into pro, like, there's no going back.
Yeah.
You can't jump into one pro fight, get knocked out, right off the bat, and then be like, oh, let me go back to amateur. Like, you're pro, you're pro. So it would just depend, it's also up to the fighters to decide, hey, I want a career, an amateur of this many fights or that many fights before I even consider going pro. But the offers are there, you had a fight offer last year to go pro in Las Vegas, but we were like, all right, this might be kind of quick,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
How many fights did you do this year?
This year, I think I did 2 MMA fights, and then we also did a IKF tournament with Muay Thai. So I stayed pretty active this year just to try and stay with it, man. Because I know that I don't know if like ring rust is a real thing, but I don't want it. You know what I mean? Like I don't. So you try to stay as active as possible. So yeah, probably we did those 2 fights and the IKF tournament.
I feel like ring rust is just on the fighter, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you got it, you got it. If you,
I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Is like if I'm not at work or if I'm not in the gym, I'm working somewhere else. You know what I mean? I'm getting my work in somewhere else. So I never really try to stop working on my stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully ring rust is never an option for me.
Yeah.
And welcome back from those commercials. Glad to have y'all. Manscaped and whatever else wants to sponsor us. We don't really have. Yeah, we don't.
I was
Yeah.
like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I totally believed it.
Yeah. We went. Hey, we have.
Whatever else we have.
Yeah. Whatever else we have. Yeah. Yeah. We'll be happy
Whoever else
with
we have.
whatever.
That sponsor's happy.
Yeah.
As long as it's Manscaped, you don't matter.
Yeah.
Anybody else, you don't matter.
So I do have some questions from our live audience over there. They sent them in. What are the future plans for Black Widow?
Ooh, quite a bit. We were about to expand in the last year. Had a couple hurdles, a couple changes at the gym, and honestly, I was kind of worried. I was like, man, I wonder how all of this is gonna go. We had the coach that we used to have. He just up and quit, so he was our jiu-jitsu coach at the time. And I was like, man, this is gonna be so hard. And then, sure enough, Taza walks in, like I said, top 10 in the world, super cool dude. Came in and he's like, yeah, I would love to work here. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So hired him on, and it's been great. You know, like I said, there was no dip, no nothing. Like it was pretty seamless. The transition to getting a new coach. So I waited a little bit on the expansion, but now that I know things are solid, we'll hopefully be expanding into the suite next door, or we may potentially open a second location. So that's what we're looking into for the coming year, which is pretty cool to kind of put into the works. And as usual, the guys, you know, will be fighting bigger and better promotions and bigger shows and all that kind of stuff. So we got that coming up. Doing international seminars, which is kind of cool for the coming year. I'll be teaching in Mexico, in Paris, and we'll be heading out to a couple of other countries for different things. So it should be pretty dope to see.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'll be
that's
teaching a women's
live.
class in Paris, which I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I've always wanted to go. So it's
And
kind
you're
of a
doing
cool opportunity.
something you love as well.
Yeah, so we've got that coming up in the next year, and yeah, just bigger and better things always. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we said, but where y'all located?
we're on 2007 Kramer Lane, which is right in the corner of Kramer and Metric, right where all of the breweries and stuff are. Yeah.
You're right by Oscar Blues.
Yeah,
Literally
literally,
right by it.
that's their
Right down
run
the street.
route. When they're in camp, before they start any class, they have to run a mile. It's literally 1 mile. You run 2 Oscar Blues and back. So that's their mile marker when they're in training. Yeah,
Yeah, go a
it's
little
that
bit
close.
further.
We
They're
know
like,
that
oh,
route.
hey, what's up,
Just-
baby? And
Yeah.
your future plans for just the jiu-jitsu world and the Black Widow world?
Well, obviously, I want to get more into jiu-jitsu, but other than that, it's just fighting more, man. Like getting my name out there, you know, progressing more in the sport, MMA wise. Just let people know that I'm here, so that we can get more fights going, you know. And that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. I got no other plans but to fight, man. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Another question for both of y'all is, what is something you wish you would have known when you first started out?
That's a good question.
Something I would have known when I first started out. Damn, that's hard. Headgear is a stupid. No, I'm just kidding. No, that headgear sucks to fight with. That's what I wouldn't.
I've always wondered that actually.
It's too
does.
hot, man. It's too
Is
hot.
it? How's the? Well, because it's always like squished. So like, how's your vision with it?
That's the main thing it inhibits. The other thing that's bad about it is it gives you, like, a lot of schools will train, like, they'll do hard sparring, which we don't do at our school. We do technical sparring, and they put headgear on. So it gives you a false sense of confidence that they're being protected. So you're like, I can hit him hard. He's protected. It really does not do that much. So it does cause a lot of damage, I feel like, outside of the gym. So that's one of the things I don't like about headgear. So I'm with you on that. Yeah, which is why we don't do it. I'd rather they technical spar. All the gyms that I've trained with, all the good gyms I've trained at, They don't do hard sparring, you know, unless it's like, and even hard is like 40-50% like max. Because again, you don't need to be getting, you know, brain damage in training. There's no point. Like in the ring, they're going to come at you at 100%. Like if it happens there, at least, you know, it's in a fight and not just outside of it with some hothead or, you know, people trying to prove something out there. So yeah, hit your socks.
The guy who had too much Oscar Blues that day.
We love Oscar Blues. There's no such thing. I'm just kidding. But yeah, wait, what was the question? What? Oh, wish I knew before.
Wish you knew.
Yeah, something.
Shit.
Yeah, you should have done.
Oof. I don't know. I guess there has been quite a bit problems I could have avoided had I just been a little bit smarter about the relationships that you have in the gym, and not just like, you know, romantic relationships, but friendships and stuff. You know, I've definitely you get that sense of like everybody that walks in the gym is going to be a great person when you're at a great gym, and sometimes you run into some bad people. And just knowing that, like recognizing those things, you know, some people are there because they may be having some issues outside of, you know, of the gym. And so recognizing those things and realizing that, yeah, I can help them out, be friendly with them, but, you know, making sure it's never crossing too far with that. Because sometimes, you know, I will say I've had some friendships in the past that I was like, man, these girls are dope. And then you come to find you're like, oh, maybe not. And it's hard for me as a coach because obviously I want to encourage women. I want to encourage people to do it. But, you know, they may be fighting their own battles and dealing with their own things outside of it. So I think it would just be smarter about the friendships that you keep there sometimes. But I mean, I don't know if I would really give myself that advice because I've also made some of the greatest friends in training, you know, people that you know, my ride or die is like all the way through. And so I don't know that I would give myself that advice, but yeah, I would just say maybe like take all the fights you can when you could have at the time. I wish I had probably gotten into that earlier on instead of trying to like wait. But yeah, I think those are, I don't know, it's hard to say what I would tell myself then, you know. My journey's been so crazy, but it's led to this, so I don't know. I loved it all.
It's been worth every step.
It's been worth every step, yeah, the good and the bad.
What do you prefer, standing up or on the ground?
Oh, I'm definitely a striker, bro.
Striker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I love my striking. Everybody that's ever trained with me knows that. But it's now it's a just completely different game, man. Like
You have to have a
you
ground
have
game
to
now.
be well rounded, bro. Even though you don't like to fucking grapple, you can go fucking grapple, dude. Cause trust me, there's dudes out here that like they know some shit on the ground.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I would say definitely though I'm a striker.
Yeah.
It's a heart. Boxing says it all.
Yeah, he's so good.
How do you pick your coaches?
How do I pick them?
Yeah, how did, like, when you saw Coach Taz, was it just like, oh, I know he's really good, or was it just...
So the kicker with that is I knew nothing about him. I had no idea he was as good as he was. It was literally, like I said, the coach left, and I was left without a coach, and just like, shit, I gotta fill a spot. And one of the other guys told me, they're like, hey, this guy, Oliver Taza, he came in and asked for a job once. And so they're like, yeah, he's really good. He trains with John Danaher, who's like the biggest name in jiu-jitsu, greatest coach for the sport, I would say. And so I was like, I mean, that sounds good enough. You know, at this point I was a little desperate. So I remember I called him up on a Saturday because, like I said, the other coach, I was like, hey, last chance. Are you really going to quit? This, that? Didn't respond. So I was like, well, got to find somebody. So I was on a Saturday, like 3, 4 o'clock. I told him, please let me know by this time. And nothing. So I was like, all right, went home. I just finished training. I went and showered. And I messaged Taza on the way over. And I was like, hey, are you interested in the job still? And he's like, yeah, I can head right over. And I was like, wait, I'm not there right now. I'm not at the gym. I was like, let me go home. Let me shower. I'll meet you in an hour. I got there, and he was already in. And what was cool, and how I knew that I already liked him right off the bat, Johnny was in there getting a session just on his own, working the bag. And Taza was like sitting on the ground talking to him, just giving him like advice. And I was like, that's cool. Because anybody else could have just sat there and just been like, I gotta wait for my interview kind of thing. So I was like, that's pretty dope. Like, he seems like a good dude. So talked to him, heard about, you know, some of his goals and ambitions and why he wanted to do it. And, you know, you could just read the personality sometimes. And I definitely liked his personality right off the bat. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And so hired him. And yeah, that was on Saturday. Monday, he started teaching. And so, and even still, that was kind of a trial period. And I watched him and, you know, compete at a high level and be able to balance that with being able to coach. One of the things that I loved about him is that he learned everybody's name. and things about them. He's like, I'm watching this person's game. They're good at this. They're good at that. And I'm just like, shit, it's a lot of fucking people to remember, but he remembers them all. So that's how I knew. I was like, okay, this guy, you know, even though he's got all these accolades and he's done and competed at so many great things, for me, it was who he was as a person in the gym that I was like, yeah, that's who I want as a coach. Same thing with some of these guys when they coach too. It's like, you know, it can be frustrating. It's like, can you teach? Yeah, you're great at what you do, but can you break it down for somebody who's brand new? You know, that's when you see the frustration sometimes, right? Because we've all been there. I sometimes get frustrated. You know, I teach kids class, and those kids will test me.
Kick your little.
You know, yeah. And then on Thursdays, we fight these little kids. And I was like, all right, now you're going to learn.
Dave Chappelle, fuck those kids.
Sitting in the middle.
But I love it because we make them little killers, you know, because we put it on them, you know. But that's when you know when you got a good coach. It's like, can they teach it at the most basic level? Because you can come in with a game plan of like, I'm going to teach 20 different things and what I'm good at and this and that. And then you encounter and they're all there blank face like, what did you just say? So that's definitely a big one is like, can they do that? And that's how I pick some of my guys. Yeah.
And then what has it meant? I don't even know if you've even like taken it in yet, but what has it meant for you to like be able to train with some of the people you've trained with, like the Shevchenko sisters, Chris Cyborg, so people like UFC legends, well, MMA legends, I should say.
It's pretty cool. You know, it's really great to get to see them at a human level because you watch them on TV and you admire what they do, you know who they are. But it's humbling too because you think you know so much. And then I remember the first time I clinched with Valentina, I was like, oh my God, she's so strong. You know, I was just like, she's incredibly strong and so technical. So it's like getting to do that. It's just, it shows you, I always tell this to the team. I was like, you know, you may be a big shark here, but there's bigger sharks out there. So you don't realize it at the time. And so it's cool to see that. And I'm always just very respectful and admire them all for what they achieve. But it's also kind of cool, like Crew Bob, who has coached, I don't know how many UFC fights. He's one of the best coaches, I think, in the world. He and I are dear friends. And so the last fight he was commentating, he like gives me a shout out and says how much he likes me, how I'm a nice person. And I'm just like, damn, like somebody that big like knows who I am and likes me. And you know, it's cool to see it at that level to where, you know, you become a human to them too. So you don't just admire them from afar. You're I don't know what the word would be. You work at the same level sometimes to a degree. And it's crazy to me to see that, you know, we're both coaching at some events together. We're both, you know, helping people get better. Like Eddie Abasolo, sometimes when he came and taught here, he was telling me the other day, he's like, man, I got to reach out to you for advice on marketing or merchandise and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, somebody at that level wants to ask me for advice. He just made his debut in one championship. So I'm just like, that's so cool to see. But I definitely love it and admire it. And like I said, I treat them with respect and I'm grateful for every interaction I have with people at that level. But they're some badass human beings, which is cool.
Where are some of the places that y'all have enjoyed, I guess, sparring other than Black Widow? Like, I know y'all like to train at other gyms. What, like, that situation? Or, like, I guess your favorite place you've ever done?
Me? I would have to say it was Main Street. It used to be Houston Muay Thai. I definitely did a lot of seminars there, went and trained there and everything. That was one of my favorite places to go. They always made me feel welcome. Like I said, Crew Bob was just one of the nicest people. So he always made me feel at home there, which was really dope. And then he came here and taught several times. I've definitely had some bad experiences at different gyms, but so I don't really travel. This was like, what was it, Abilene? Went there twice. Both gyms treated me badly. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to scrap that area. But yeah, I think that was my favorite place to train at. And I mean, here, when I first started, I was at Cooper MMA, and that was a lot of fun at the time. So I really enjoyed training there too.
I mean, favorite place? I like to go like a lot of places, cross train, get a lot of different looks. But I would say my favorite place that I've trained at before here would be Cantus Muay Thai, and that's down in Laredo. That's where I grew up. It's kind of like my home of Muay Thai.
Your roots,
you know?
yeah.
So I mean, I stepped into his gym one day. Like I was like, hey, I know a little bit of kickboxing here and there, you know, but I was like, I've never done Muay Thai. And so he took me right in, man. Like he started even moving me around with some of his MMA guys at the time. So it was a lot of fun. And then I mean, here I mean they got there's a bunch of other good gyms that have like good solid dudes to spar with, like Ambush, Black Sheep. I mean, a lot of dudes at our gym, they're killers too, man. So it's just about getting your work in wherever you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that outside of this gym would be Cantus Muay Thai.
Do y'all collab with any other gyms? I don't know if that does that work in
Yeah,
the
for
MMA?
sure.
I would assume so.
Yeah,
But,
we've definitely got gyms that were
like-
friendly. But like I said, I've sent the guys. I don't know, I was out of town for something or other, and they went over to Crew Bob's place to go train. So I just hit him up, and he knows to have the guys taken care of. So
That's
it was
another
pretty
good
cool.
one too.
But
Main
yeah, and
Street.
also Saxon's gym. How could I forget? Like that's one of my favorite places. He taught me a whole bunch. Trained with him and his family a whole bunch, and to them, yeah. Like when I say family, we're like family, which is what's
Hell
so
yeah.
cool about all of this. But I would definitely say Saxon's was another place that I really enjoyed training at. But yeah, we're always down to collaborate. I mean, it's really cool. Another friend of mine who just started Knock Boys United, which is a really cool page that he's doing for Muay Thai. He's trying to help bring some of these organizations together. I like to see that too because I wouldn't say that everything's divided, but I will say things kind of changed after COVID. You know, we didn't get to have that community feel so much. Gyms had to be closed. We couldn't cross train, so we definitely lost a little bit of that. So seeing that come back together and, pages like that trying to work to bring awareness is really cool. So we're seeing more and more of it. So I'm excited for that in the future.
Oh, yeah.
She said hers earlier. Who are some of your favorite fighters? I'm curious.
Favorite fighters? Well, obviously is Adesanya. He's like one of the biggest ones. But like I used to like a lot of older school fighters like Randy Couture, Chuck the Iceman Liddell, the way he was hardcore, man. You also got like where's some other pretty good, really good old ones, or not old ones, retired now I guess. Anderson Silva was another big one coming up. And there's a lot to name, man, but those are pretty much the ones that I focused on and looked at a lot.
I was watching some videos the other day, and I don't know how I forgot about him, but one of my favorite fighters, just because he's able to perform with his disability, but Chris Lieben. I saw Chris Lieben on a video. I was like, damn, I forgot about Chris Lieben.
Yeah.
And he's deaf and you can't hear, but he's like out there like in the UFC fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a
there's
killer,
a
too.
yeah.
He's a,
Actually at what's the school? I can't remember, but yeah, there's a guy who it's his nickname, the Deaf Grappler. I have another friend too who's also deaf, and they do it. And
So how
it's
does that
just cool.
like? How does that work? Like, how do you train a deaf fighter?
I've never trained him. He's someone that's in the community too. He's a black belt. But yeah, it's really cool to see. I'm not sure, with us, whenever we've had anybody who has any kind of different ability or even just sometimes injury or even just discomfort, we always find a way to work around it, which is something that I take as a personal challenge because I love being able to incorporate anybody who might be wanting to do it but thinks they can't. We definitely find ways around it. Yeah, so like I said, that's on me. I have to find a new way to teach something that I may know how to teach to everybody else, but it's just like, all right, how do I do it for this situation? So we just kind of adapt to it, but yeah, not a challenge I've had so far. Haven't faced that.
That's it for me.
I think that's it for me as well.
Live audience.
Live
have
audience,
any-
is there anything?
You want to ask her your question?
No, I was gonna do that afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Yeah, that's an off-camera question.
Now I want to know what this question is.
You'll find out.
Yeah, you'll
I
find
was
out.
like, I may not answer it, but I want to know what it is. Like,
Is there any last minute things you'd like to say to the camera? Last plugins, anything?
just shout out to all the team and everybody. If you're watching this, don't judge me too much.
Or listening, if you're listening as well.
Also, tune in January 29th. Obviously, we're going to be fighting here in Austin. Pretty much that's it. Appreciate you guys fucking having us on here.
You said that fight will be, I guess, televised or.
I think that one's streamed.
It's
I know the
streamed.
Black Widow
What do they stream
Invitational
on?
will be.
It's
What do y'all
going
stream on?
I think it's going on a live stream. So, but if you go to MFC Championships on Instagram, they have everything.
They have the link there?
Yeah, they
Okay,
have
cool.
the link and everything. I post up the link sometimes too, just to give people, you know, like, hey, here's your tickets, or hey, you can go on the website. And stuff
Don't
like
worry,
that.
Carlos. We'll
Very
be
good
there.
at marketing.
Well, I will be,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we'll be there
yeah.
ringside.
Yeah,
Don't you
hell yeah.
worry.
Where would you buy tickets at for your fight? Is that the same?
On
that
the
website?
Instagram page.
Yeah, he'll have it.
So it's yeah, I'll give it to you guys afterward. Cool. But yeah.
Yeah,
No,
for
just-
us, it's just, the Blackwood Invitational. Like I said, that's a big one. If y'all can make it out to that, it's going to be really dope. Enigma TV is the one helping us put it on. So if you go Black Widow Invitational on Instagram, it'll have a link on there for all of it. So you can purchase tickets. And again, I guess some of our sponsors too, we can give them a shout out. ATX Timeless for shoes. If y'all ever, I'm a big Jordan person. He helps me
Man's
get
the
all my
plug
shoes,
for
which I
the
love.
Nikes, bro.
Yeah, he's our plug for sure.
Yeah.
And then Cryo Bodyworks, who helps us with all of our therapies and recovery. Meal Pros with food, which is, what helps us keep our fighters on weight. And then Oscar Blues, who helps us do some amazing events. So those are our main sponsors, and we definitely love them for what they do for all of us.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, no, and thank you
Having us
guys.
here,
Yeah, this
man.
was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Look
problem. We
forward
enjoyed it as well. We hope we know y'all enjoyed it, clearly.
Yeah. We talking. I'm just trying not to talk too much, you know what I mean?
No, but that's the thing is we want you to talk a lot over
Well,
here.
we got time for other ones too. You know?
Yeah,
We'll come
no,
back.
that maybe we can plan one for in the gym next time.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
That'd be
Y'all
nice.
got questions, we got answers, That's how it
Yeah,
works.
and y'all have lots of fighters that we can interview.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure a lot of them would like to get on camera too. So.
Oh yeah, everyone would love to get their name
Oh
out.
yeah,
I get
definitely.
it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our episode here at PCT. We'll have everybody's information in the description. We'll let you know where you can find them. But this is your boy Zay signing out. Peace.
I don't know if y'all could tell I was nervous or not.
Yeah, for real. I was like, how much info do we give? How much do we,